Hi everyone, I am Dr. Oneeka Williams. I am your healer, positivity catalyst, storyteller, and teacher. And we have been doing the ecosystem, which is part of the Williams integrated educational model. I've been taking you on a journey that recognizes the importance of bringing the integrated approach to any learning environment. And that's a model that represents and encompasses the academic, which is the intellectual, the social development, the emotional development, and the physical and physiologic development of our children. And quite frankly, this is an ecosystem of learning that applies for any environment in which there is ongoing learning. So this could be applied within your schools, within your classrooms, within your homes, certainly within your workplace. And as I am it's very characteristic for me, I love to break things down in a mnemonic that makes it easier to understand and makes it easier to connect to. And so we have been going through the series of ecosystem. And thank you for being with me and staying with me on this journey. I hope that you are continuing to learn some pearls that are helpful. And today we are going to be talking about the M in ecosystem. So we are on the last leg, and the M is for role modeling and representation. What does an environment where representation is celebrated and representation is acknowledged as being important, what does that environment look like? An ecosystem, or an environment that facilitates learning, that really celebrates representation and role modeling, creates a diverse experience for their students or employees. There are diverse images represented. There are diverse messages. There is a recognition of the importance of our differences and the richness that it brings to the fabric of our life. And as such, a platform is created to essentially encourage everyone to participate, recognizes everyone as valuable, and creates a framework by which that value is acknowledged and celebrated. A classroom or an environment that celebrates diversity recognizes that in so much as our stories represent and reflect our experience, it is very important to be very discerning and understand that who is telling the story many times colors how the story is told. And so we need, within our classroom and within our environments of learning, we need to ensure that stories are being told from the perspective of the actual person to whom the stories occurred, rather than being filtered through someone else's interpretation of that story. We need to create opportunities for our children to be aware of diverse cultures and diverse practices around the world and create the space for connection through those experiences. We need to be very deliberate about being open-minded and being open to dialogue and discourse about diverse frames of reference, diverse frames of diverse thought processes, and diverse practices. These are the things that help to build a classroom where diversity and role modeling is celebrated and becomes an integral component of learning. And in doing that, it essentially empowers everyone within the environment with a voice which recognizes that we all have something very, very special to bring into the environment. And so for me, this has been something that has been an integral part of what I have sought to do and the impact that I have sought to create. Because in recognizing that from very early on, in wanting to do physics, in going to college as a biophysics major, and realizing that there were a number of populations or parts of our population that are underrepresented in these areas, such as women in STEM careers, such as minorities in certain STEM careers and certain fields, and that there are opportunities that are limited because of our gender, because of the color of our skin, because of our socioeconomic status. I understood very early that part of my mission, that part of my impact for the world would be to create a platform that would help to somehow change the mindset, expand the way the generations think, and create a way of, number one, creating role modeling for what is possible, for girls to see themselves as powerful, for kids of color to see themselves as powerful, and for all kids, and to recognize the value of the power of the diverse thoughts, the diverse mindsets, and how that brings value into any situation, and so that anyone has the opportunity to be powerful, and that is not limited by how you look. And so I created the Dr. Didi Dynamo Girl Super Surgeon Superhero as a way of modeling and changing the images for what scientists look like, for what people who are powerful look like, and to really create this mindset of positivity that says that you can show up and you can achieve. And by believing that all things are possible, and that by believing that not even the sky is the limit, it creates a way of changing perspectives to be able to essentially represent all people as being powerful and all people as being capable of making an incredible difference in the world, and not having limits imposed because we don't see ourselves. We don't see images that represent what is possible. You can't be what you can't see. And so the importance of the Dr. Didi Dynamo platform has been, for me, that opportunity to expand and extend the images of who can be powerful. So what does it look like in your classroom or in your workplace if we don't see representation of who we are, if we don't see models that say, this is possible for you to do it, if there is not a culture that welcomes diversity? You have an environment that becomes a place where it is not comfortable for people to be. People are not able, or students and employees are not able to be their best selves. They're not able to show up fully confident that they're able to deliver on whatever it is that is being asked of them. They feel limited. They feel as if they're not able to make a valuable contribution to that environment because they just do not feel welcome. As such, there's a culture of potentially disrespect where people don't value each other, they don't respect each other, there are poor relationships, and where there are poor relationships within the classroom and within the work environment, it means that it makes the environment much more hostile. It makes it feel as if a place where it becomes much less productive because there's this overarching feeling of dysfunction. It becomes an environment that is very dysfunctional. It becomes an environment where the participants don't feel comfortable expressing themselves. It does not feel as a place that is safe for you to state your opinion and know that you can have discourse of diverse opinions where there is still a respectful environment. It becomes a place that can be very judgmental and, quite frankly, can be very critical. And that creates a very negative environment in which to learn. It stunts and stifles learning, and it, quite frankly, decreases the measures of curiosity. It decreases the levels of willingness to take risks. And we know that the foundation of innovation and creativity comes from the ability to just take a risk. And so environments that do not support and do not model representation, that do not encourage diversity of thought, results in a place where creativity and innovation is stifled. And so for the Williams Integrated Educational Model, also known as WIEM, for this ecosystem of learning, we recommend that the first thing that you can do in order to try to create an environment that's conducive to growth and conducive to representation of everyone is that you first take an audit. You first take stock of what does your environment allow and what does your environment support in terms of diversity. Where are the images? Where are the role models? Where are the opportunities to make sure that stories are being shared? Where is the acknowledgement of all of the various practices around the world that represent different approaches? How do you support that within your environment? And so take stock. What are the percentage of women in your organization? What are the percentage of women in leadership? What a percentage of teachers of color in your environment that allow for students to feel that they see themselves represented? How are you bringing those images into the environment to make sure that you're celebrating culturally appropriate and relevant topics? There are a number of concerns, as you will well know, that we bring unconscious bias into the environment. We can only be who we are because of the messages that are embedded and imprinted in us from very early. And in order to undo those messages, in order to undo those biases, we have to be very conscious and aware of what those biases are, so that all of us are subject to biases based on how we have been raised and based on the images that we have been exposed to from very young. It is bringing a measure of consciousness to that and bringing an awareness that helps us to undo some of those biases. And so there are a number of assessment tools that allow you to evaluate your bias, to allow you to evaluate some of those unconscious ways of thinking, so that you can then be much more deliberate and intentional about what you bring into the environment. So we recommend strongly, we will have a list of many of those assessment tools on our website, so that you can then go through some of those evaluation metrics to understand where your bias exists. And this is really the first step in the work that has to happen in creating a diverse environment and creating an environment in where representation and role modeling is understood as being very important for your students, for your employees, or whomever is a part of that ecosystem of learning in order for them to be successful. So I thank you so much for joining me today on this journey. I thank you for taking the time to gain some insights. And I thank you for continuing to be committed to creating an ecosystem of learning wherever you show up, wherever you lead, wherever you teach, wherever the environment is that there are young minds or anyone else who is participating in a way that you are creating a leadership and you are fulfilling a leadership role and you are creating those opportunities for learning. I thank you for taking the time to join us to understand how you can create an ecosystem of learning that best facilitates and optimizes the experiences of learning and the experiences of growth and development and the experiences that honor the academic and intellectual growth of our kids and whoever the employees, whomever is in the environment of learning, that recognizes the importance of that social, emotional component in addition to the physical and physiologic component. I'm Dr. Oneeka Williams, and thank you for joining us.